Hi, my name's Tony, and I am the Dungeon Master for DnD RAW.
Hi, this is Bethany, and I play Belinda Walsingham in Serviceable Plots.
Hi, my name is Adam, and I play Akiva Khonshu in Serviceable Plots.
Hey, my name is Rachel, and I play Elaine Fox in Rumble Squad.
We're going to be discussing up to episodes 40 for Serviceable Plots and 30 for Rumble Squad. So if you have not listened to those episodes yet, this is your spoiler warning. Also, if you're not caught up, we will be posting recaps for episodes 27 through 30 of Rumble Squad and episodes 31 through 40 of Serviceable Plots at the end of this mailbag. So before we actually begin, we just wanted to discuss recent issue with coronavirus. The health and safety of our listeners is our top priority, and we want to make sure that we do our part to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, better known as coronavirus. This disease has spread throughout the world. There are a few ways to help lower the spread of this respiratory disease. Wash your hands, avoid touching your face, including mouth, nose, and eyes, and cover your coughs and sneezes. Monitor your symptoms and consult with your doctor. Stay home and away from other sick people, except for medical care. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces. And for more information, please visit the cdc.gov/COVID-19. Thank you.
We also want to thank you all for listening to our podcast. We have just reached 90,000 downloads.
Yay!
Which for us is a major milestone, considering we first started this. We were hoping we would have, more than 1,000 downloads, and they wouldn't be people we already know in real life. So thank you all so much for taking the time to consume our content and give us feedback and submit questions for mailbag episodes like these.
And don't forget, you can find DnD RAW on all of your favorite podcatchers. Follow us on Twitter @RulesAsWritten, or email us directly at dm@dndraw.com. You can also join us on Discord. We'll make sure to post a link in the description, or you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/dndraw. So let's go ahead and jump into the questions.
So, one of our first questions was, how is the coronavirus doing in Florida, and will it have any effect on podcast episodes? Currently, we're recording this on March 21st, 2020. So at this point, we have a nice backlog of episodes that are either edited or in the process of being edited. So we hope we will be able to continue our release schedule for the foreseeable future. As to how it's going, we have hurricane season every year, which is either very quiet or people just generally like descending into post-apocalyptic mayhem. So it's like that, but worse. What would you say, Rachel, has been your coronavirus experience so far?
It's like a Cat 6 hurricane is coming that people are panicking for because everything is gone at the stores. Things that I didn't think would be gone, which is odd. I'm like, I would like to get, cake mix, which is not something you buy for a hurricane because you lose power in a hurricane and you can't bake anything. There's no cake mix. This is weird. Okay.
Melissa and I went to the store the other day, and all the bacon was gone.
Ooh.
Yeah, our cold case was cleaned out.
I have freezer bacon for emergencies.
It's emergency bacon.
We ate our emergency bacon, because we had an emergency where we needed bacon, called a Tuesday.
Yeah, you wanted bacon?
Yes.
That was the emergency?
It was Tuesday.
We are overall very lucky, most of us, that we have the opportunity to either work from home or work in a place where things are pretty clean and sterile, like Tony working in a restaurant, where they are putting in extra precautions. So we are hoping that we don't know that we won't get infected, but we're going to try to do our part to not get infected for as long as possible and stay away from other people. So I will say, I know it sounds mean to say introversion is a superpower, but it really is in this circumstance because some of us are fine being home for the foreseeable future. And we have opportunities to game online with each other, record stuff like this. So hopefully none of us go like Tom Hanks and Castaway, levels of bonkers, but
One of us is getting there.
Yeah, it's Mike. We're just going to rat out Mike. Mike is having a hard
100%.
time because
Mike is much more extroverted.
Oh, well, Mike is the most extroverted, I think, of our group and requires lots of human interaction. So I guess we're doing okay. I'm more worried about people like my grandmother, who's 86 years old and very stubborn and doesn't like being told to stay at home. She is staying home, but she is not happy about it, and she will make us bring her bananas when she needs bananas. It's been an ongoing thing where she's like, who's bringing me bananas, or I will go get the bananas. And I'm like, why is this the urgent thing? Why do we need bananas?
Obviously.
Yeah.
Bananas are very important.
Bananas. Essential to survival.
I obviously don't want to get sick, but getting sick for me is less of a big thing than if I get somebody else sick. That's my whole big thing. Because if I get sick, I can more than likely get through it. It's just I don't want to get anybody else sick.
Right. Yeah, we're all relatively young, healthy people who are not at great risk, so we are trying to be not the infectors of others, I would say, more than anything else.
Yeah, and I know, like, for us, most of our social things that we were planning or have planned within the next month have been either canceled, rescheduled, or put as extremely tentative.
That's true. So I guess we are overall doing our best to do our part, staying clean.
Washing hands, not going out.
Yeah, I have not been out of my house. Well, beyond my neighborhood. I've been for walks. Like, I have seen the sun. But in 7 days. So...
Yep, I've only gone to Publix a couple times because we would really like some eggs in this house. But they're all gone. Everywhere.
See, we got lucky. Our Publix had tons of eggs still.
There was one carton, and it was the one where all the people put the reject eggs that were cracked or whatever. That was the only carton they had. So it was all, like, 8 out of 12 of them were smashed.
And you're like, Publix, can I buy 4 eggs, please? Just the good ones. I will take them. So I guess we're doing all right. We're hoping for the best and trying to maintain the podcast schedule. I guess we'll announce something if it looks like it's going to be changed. But for now, I don't even know how many months of episodes we have already recorded. 6 months? 6 months. So, all right. As long as we can get together and record in the next 6 months, we will still have episodes for you all. So that's where we're at right now. But I guess stay tuned on Twitter for any further updates.
Yep.
Next question. This is one we've gotten from a couple people, which is, why do you have more Serviceable Plots episodes than Rumble Squad? Or why did the release schedule change? It's actually a really simple reason. Typically, Serviceable Plots records twice a month, and Rumble Squad records once a month. So we just have more content. And Tony was trying to do his best to keep the stories moving at a similar pace, so that's why the release schedule changed.
Also, man, we talk way more.
We do talk a lot.
So there's a lot more talking that does not get cut out.
Rumble Squad is much more people of action.
Yeah, we just do stuff.
We're more brood. We're more, what about these emotions? How do I deal with the trust issues that are befalling our team?
Literally, I think there was a recent session where I'm like, well, the group therapy went great. In character, obviously. Our characters did some, like, talking about, like, you know, our greatest fears, as you do.
So we'll regroup next week and have the same conversation, and then it literally happens the next day.
I mean, in-game, yes, it's like a day or two later. Sometimes it's actually in the same day. It's like one's happened in the morning when betrayal occurred, and one happened at night to see how you felt now about the betrayal.
We just are very invested in each other's mental health as characters.
Yes.
Actually, to be clear, I would like to specify Belinda really does not care, but it's really necessary to keep the group moving forward because otherwise, like, we can't have any meltdowns. Like, meltdowns are no good.
That's what Belinda believes currently. Secretly, she's changing inside. She's just not aware. Friendship web.
We shall see.
Only time will tell.
So I guess we don't know if the release schedule might change down the road, but Tony has been trying to keep the backlog sort of equivalent for the two shows so that we don't get too far ahead with one and not the other. So that's why we have the current release schedule.
A big part is I'm trying to keep the timelines about the same. So the stuff happening in Rumble Squad might be a few days behind stuff in Serviceable Plots. But my intention is to have the two the arc one for both groups kind of wrap up at about the same time.
Yeah, and I don't know how much we've actually called this out, like how the campaign is structured for both groups is Tony kind of saw it as a series of arcs, 3 of them. So sort of like a 3 major acts before we get to the epic conclusion, whatever that might be. And we finished recording arc 1.
Yes.
So that'll be coming out in the next few months for both groups, where we have our final epic encounters for our first bosses, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Basically, there is a boss at the end of at the end of arc 1 for both groups. How they handle them are 2 very different ways, but they are both very exciting and dramatic and hair-pullingly stressful at times for the parties, I know.
So I guess that leads into our next question, which was, what's the next series going to be? I know when we did Orenthal, Tony envisioned it as like a mini campaign. So we actually recorded that over how many sessions, Tony?
4 sessions and an epilogue.
Was it only 4?
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, whereas currently our next scheduled Serviceable Plots session is
26.
and Rumble Squads is going to be session 19. So we're already basically have recorded 4 times as much material as the original campaign. Partly because this was supposed to be more of an extended adventure, and we kind of mentioned the arcs being kind of Tony's way of breaking up the story. So building to a climax and then having some downtime because, well, not all of us love downtime, but some of us crave and need downtime. And then some of us have no hobbies or skills beyond...
Pan flutes?
Whoa.
Actually, wait, are all of us the people who don't actually have, like, real hobbies?
I think so.
I think so.
Non-crafters. We are the non-crafters.
Yeah,
We
the
are the
non-crafters. That's a good way to word it.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the flow is going to go. And of course, I think the arcs are all mapped out. Like, it's going to be X number of sessions. It kind of depends on where we go, how obsessed we get with side quests, because some of us are maybe completionists. We want to track all the quests, complete all the quests. Not that Tony's tracking XP, but we just don't want to miss out on anything.
Yes.
You know?
Arc 2 is much more open than Arc 1, or it will be. There's a lot that I don't know, but I do have plot points scattered about.
Yeah, we're finally getting to travel because both of the groups in Arc 1 spent most of their time in one place. Like, I know Rumble Squad has been like, let's leave the Regorum!
Please, let us out!
I mean, we can say in Arc 2, they will leave the Regorum.
Yeah.
Serviceable Plots will leave the Vremer Empire.
Especially Orenthal. We really like Orenthal, though.
You do. You're comfortable there. So that needs to change.
No, comfortable's good. Don't push us out of our comfort zone, DM.
It would be nice not to be hunted.
You're like, Akiva would like to be accepted, and yet everywhere we go, the people are like, whoa, Shidarkai? What's the deal here? So I guess if this question was about, like, what's coming up next, it's for both groups, like Arc 2 and then Arc 3. We haven't really talked about another series. We do have some other things we're still doing. We're gonna hope to record some more rules episodes soon and get those out. Tony would like to keep doing Darkest Timeline, and I know some people have been lobbying that they haven't gotten to do Crime and Chaos in a while, since mostly we're trying to make good choices. So I guess beyond that, though, it's still a ways out. So beyond that, we don't know. I guess we're open to suggestions. It would be a bit of time, but, you know, we're committed. Yeah, and we're continuing to do, like, sort of those separate conversations and things. Tony has started doing something new in our sessions where he's using Zoom's breakout room feature. So when the party is split, we literally get sectioned off into a separate room.
And you don't know what the other is doing.
Not supposed to split the party.
Well, yeah, literally the entire group left without me, and I was just in a separate room by myself, like, what are they doing? Oh no, I'm very nervous about what might be happening. I'm just, like, sitting there for several minutes.
So that would have been more like what I would have done for Rumble Squad when Auric traveled through the fire bridge. I would have probably pulled him in a separate side room, and then have you guys decide what you want to do, wait a minute, and then jump over to him by himself. And that way I knew, like, how long did it take you guys to start to follow him, and is he going to try and stop that?
Yeah, and it's less about metagaming and more just about building tension and suspense. And trust me, it really works. It's
It really
like,
works. But we also miss out on things like Mr. Dusky Fayboy.
Yeah, all those conversations Bai has with people, those are all recorded separately, so we don't know what's happening until somebody comes back and reports in. Also, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, Mike always has Scriv give us his version of events, and then we hear it back later, we're like, excuse me, you left some things out, I'm just saying.
He is terrible at recapping what happens.
Which, then leads to exciting moments where we're like, what's actually going on here? What are we gonna do about this? So, that's been fun. Nerve-wracking, but in a good way. So, I know we had a question for Tony, which was, what is Tony's inspiration, and how long has he had this story in his head?
2 years of, like, Serviceable Plots Rumble Squad, and then another year for Orenthal. So it's been, like, 3 years before that.
Jeez.
Where you had the initial concept, right?
Where I had the concept. It has been fine-tuned and changed and reworked and all of that till eventually we did Orenthal, where I got to fine-tune it even more and add details to the world, but...
And also to let us add details to the world.
And add you guys had details, such as your own characters in Orenthal now have a place in the world.
Yep.
Yay!
They are part of its history.
Yeah.
For some, maybe not just history.
Dun dun dun!
Inspiration-wise, though, that all started with the Blood War. When I read about what it was, which is the battle of devils and demons basically law versus chaos upon the evil planes. I found that kind of confrontation much more interesting than just good versus evil, because in the end, I want the party to overall be good. So in the end, you will fight the evil big bad, but the choice along the way of law or chaos is the ones I find a bit more interesting, and that's kind of how it stemmed.
You keep dangling challenges in front of us where we are choosing what path to take, and some of our characters are very much on one side or the other. Some are pretty much like, meh, I'm just kind of going with the flow, doing the best I can. And others of us are like, I literally work for the government. Like, please follow the rules. Please try not to do too much crime.
Yes, crime.
You've been working on writing down notes for the story all this time, and I know you've done a lot of changes based on our character choices, the times we surprise you.
I've made some changes on that. I've also made some changes based off, of who your characters are. I have also made some major changes because my original thought, I debated final bosses for a while. Just to give an idea of when I first thought about this campaign, literally only the monster manual is out, and I looked at the Tarask as the CR30 monster. I'm like, cool, final boss Tarask, let's do this.
Not anymore.
The Tarask is bestial, so it's not an intelligent enemy, and I like intelligent enemies.
Yeah.
So the final boss is going to be a mastermind type of enemy.
No.
You want to fight a big Tarask?
I've always wanted to.
Maybe that's a Darkest Timeline thing, like level 15 Darkest Timeline, go fight a Tarask.
You and me just go kill a Shiraz together.
Yeah, just Akiva and Elaine. Just rah!
Oh, Elaine would be down for that.
No, for sure, yeah.
That's after you guys have killed a Kraken, so.
No. We're not killing the Kraken, we're converting it to our side, and we're going to ride it into battle.
Yeah, you think we're not going to tame the Kraken?
Come on.
The Krakens think themselves gods, right?
That's okay. I worship no god, so I'll just go hand in hand and be their,
so you will worship
right
them.
Tentacle.
Cool.
Yeah, you're like, we can make this relationship work. Sure, there's some obstacles along the way, but we can make this happen with the Kraken.
Anyways. But then eventually, the whole idea of the Tarask changed as to the final confrontation, which I have in my head, and it will stay there until it's revealed.
Yeah, we gotta earn it. So there was a question for Tony. I think that's about podcast life balance, basically, which was how does Tony find the time to write and how does he manage his daily life around the game/podcast?
We record on Sundays, usually 3 Sundays a month, leaving one free.
For editing.
Well, I edit during the week, about an hour to a couple hours a day on average, and I write when I'm not editing. So usually a lot of times I will edit enough to get an episode out for the next Monday or the Monday after. And once that's done, I will prep for the next session. I have a lot of the outline stuff already set for each of the various arcs, but the finer details I usually do a week or so before the session.
So as Tony's wife, I can give the short version, which is Tony does balance life and the podcast mostly by not having any other hobbies. They've all been given up for now to do the podcast. It's pretty much a full time.
Fun for me.
Oh yeah, I know you enjoy the whole process, which I don't know why you enjoy editing, but I'm glad you do because yeah, Rachel and I are on the same page. No, bleh, editing, gross,
editing, terrible.
Adam and Mike have been helps with the editing process too. So they've done an initial edit, and then I do the final edit.
Yeah, have we talked about the whole process in a mailbag?
I don't know if we have.
It's really helped. We've been developing our whole editing process. It used to be Tony was one-stop shopping. He did the whole thing. And it was incredibly labor intensive and exhausting, and
meant I was finishing an episode the day before it went out.
So now Adam and Mike stepped up to help edit and do the first rough cut to cut out the literal trash, where we're all like, blah, 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 blah,
literally sometimes.
And meowing from Robo Squad.
Sounds of cats, sounds of planes flying overhead, and then mark the things that are going to go to bonus content. So that time where we talked about that thing that has literally nothing to do with the podcast for 10 minutes, we'll save this for later, but it has nothing to do with this session. And then from there, Tony does the next edit. And from there, it goes to our, what we're calling our quality assurance team, which is, Nick, Jane, and I, and we all listen to the episode and we all review it for different things. Jane double checks specifics of the edits, making sure there aren't any weird clips where some audio got cut out, there aren't weird breaths that have been left in, like really getting granular on specific edit points, and she like timestamps all of that. Nick does more of like a content edit, so does this make sense? Did we actually reference something that calls back to something that got edited out, and things like that, and checking those things. He also timestamps like the scenes, and then I kind of come in and do a final edit to review their stuff and put together all of the music, sounds that we use, and that sort of thing. And then all of that goes back to Tony, and Tony makes all of those changes and does the final episode. It sounds really complicated.
Actually, yeah, now that we're actually discussing it like this, it sounds super complicated.
It works so much better than the old process.
I think a big part of it is because each person has just a single part to focus on. Every time I get the next piece to review, it's so much easier. So what turned into like 6 to 8 hours on a single, or 10 hours sometimes on a single 1 hour, 45 minute long episode, now I look at it for 2 to 3 hours, send it to review, and go for another hour, hour and a half. Like, cut my time in half.
It allows Tony to actually have some semblance of life.
Yes, it really adds in it so Tony can play Borderlands 3 with him.
Oh, I mean, yes.
And have other hobbies. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really grateful that everyone like puts in the time to help, because divvying it up helps. And our quality's better. At least I hope you guys could hear it. Re-listening to Orenthal, I was noticing how much our editing has changed, because our process was literally Tony edit and try to get it out that day. So we're thinking this summer we might do like a Orenthal redux and re-edit those episodes, fix some of the audio level issues, add some music, and kind of re-release an updated version for anyone who hasn't listened to the original series and wants to hear a higher quality version. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be interesting to hear how it changes based on our new editing process.
Plus, we're all human. We're still improving. Like, even just now, I just recently learned about a new stuff I could do to the audio to make it sound crisper.
And our mics have gotten better. Our mic technique has gotten better. We have more backups in place in case someone has audio issues. So we're trying to give the best quality content we can.
And yes, we still have audio issues. It still happens. This is why we have backups.
Does indeed.
Yes. You gotta plan for the backup. If you don't plan for the backup, that's when you get betrayed, right?
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that answered the question about Tony's podcast life balance. There was a time where I was like, Tony, it's too much. Like, this is, you work and then you get home from work and then you edit for 4 hours and then you go to bed and then you get up and you go to work.
That's when I was doing it by myself.
Yeah, and it was pretty brutal. So it's been nice having a team. So thank you to the team.
Share the load.
Yeah. And Adam's a great editor.
Yeah, Adam is really good at it.
It's the right amount of monotonous for me.
You're like, soothing.
It's very soothing.
See, Adam and I think, see it the same way, that it's just like, you get into a
groove
flow.
and you just get it done, and it's great.
I think part of it might also be the nature of the work Rachel and I do, where we do a lot of like documentation. We work with words all day. So it's like that part of our brains is like, no, I'm tired and full. And then you go editing and you're like, no, it's more of the same. Your brain's like,
it's just audio instead of written.
Right, exactly. And your brain's like, no, I don't want this. I've been doing this all day. So we're capable of editing. It's just like mentally exhausting and
soul crushing.
I was trying to be nice, but yeah,
no, it's soul crushing for me.
Hi, I'm Luven Cromdell. It goes without saying that I love partying and meeting new people. And, like most adventurers, I also have the good fortune of perfect health. But for the sake of those of us who are more vulnerable to COVID-19, I'm committing to social distancing as much as possible until this crisis has passed. I hope you'll join me and become my pen pal in the meantime. Just, please don't lick the envelope. Thanks. Hey, this is Nick, the player for Luven Cromdell. During these troubled times, we here at D&D RAW are keenly aware of the importance of entertainment media to help all of us get through. It is in this spirit that we're expanding the Nabresal network to include sending spells through electronic mail. Would you like to write a letter to Luven? Well, now you can. Please address your letter to dm@dndraw.com, and Tony will make sure your message gets where it needs to go. Thank you.
So I think those are the questions that are a little more general. We have some questions that are about the content of the story. And I have to say, they're good questions, but a lot of them are things that we are adventuring as characters to answer, so we don't have the answer. So I was thinking we'll go question by question and talk through what, as players, we think might be happening, and then see if we can get Tony to drop any hints.
This is Adam Cacklin for Serviceable Plots. Welcome to Conspiracy Hour.
So, the first question we had was, is Nick's character from the original Orenthal campaign alive? And then it was the one that's tricked by at the end and got stuck in the Feywild. I was like, yes, I know the one. I think that would be Tor, whose name was it Rurik Meldwall?
Rurik Meldwall.
I did that from memory, so I was really hoping that was right.
My headcanon for this is probably, I want to say he was probably like eventually tried to betray Bai and then was either tortured or killed. But the way I see Bai, she's so much above it, she would just kill him if he tried to betray her.
No, but we haven't seen her as like a killer. She's like a manipulator and stuff. So, I mean, we've seen what has happened to some of the characters from Orenthal, how their stories turned out. Tony has dropped hints that we will find out what happened with Tor's journey. I think Tor's journey is complete. I don't know if it necessarily ended in his death. Maybe he's just like, I don't know, a Feywild hermit. Time works different there, so he could just be like chilling, trying to prepare his next like attack against Bai. I do have to say, when Nick made the choice for his character to be like, I'm gonna go take her down, I was like, oh buddy, no, we can't go with you. Like, you're not gonna win this one. No, she's way too like powerful and sinister and clever for us. So
And you're going on her home turf. Like, come on.
Yeah. So I think there's more to the story, and we will find it out. I don't know that she would have just like straight up killed him, because we haven't really seen her as a killer.
I think she would have manipulated him into doing maybe what she wanted without him knowing that that's what she wanted.
Yeah, that seems believable to me.
With the hopes of being free someday kind of thing. Because she's kind of a jerk.
She has her own goals, and all we know about her goals is she wants power. Like, that's all we know.
She makes deals, and she wants power.
So basically, she just employed him and made deals to where he just does monotonous tasks until he dies of old age.
He's like, did he get to retire, have a pension? And it's possible Tor could have died of old age. He wasn't a young dwarf, and it's been some time, and time moves differently in the Feywild, so we don't know. I know Nick wants to find out.
I mean, I can say, age-wise, the only one that could have survived from the original campaign was Sildon. However, if Saria reached level 20, she stops aging.
Because mystics can just become immortal.
And man, it's still a weird concept that Sildon's younger than my character is currently.
Oh yeah, that was a weird realization that you're like, wow, Kiva's old, but we forget because he's such a baby, like such a material plane baby, where he's like, what is life? How does this work?
How does it?
How can I make more friends?
In terms of physical age, yes, Sildon is younger. In terms of material plane age, no.
Akiva's what, 2? In material plane years.
He's going to be 3.
Yeah. So we don't know what happened to Tor, but
I'm interested to see where it went.
I think the only thing that got revealed was he spoke to Vashti at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, there's not much known. So, however, Vashti was also around during the events of Orenthal because she is a wood elf and lives a very long time.
Well, and also she was, were-tiger, and we met another were-tiger, right, in Orenthal.
She was the were-tiger. I was going to say were-tiger mama of...
Sure, but were-tiger mama. Yeah.
Basically, she converted Vral into being a were-tiger to save his life.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
All right, so Vral was the head of the Shadow Wolves. He started it.
Vral.
Who I didn't trust from the beginning.
I mean, no, because he's shady as all
It's kind of oily.
Yeah.
Vral.
Like a salesman.
Yeah, Vral was the head of the Shadow Wolves in the Orenthal campaign, and he was a were-tiger.
That was revealed within the course of the campaign. Ta-da! Were-tiger. We're like, cool, you're on our side, right? Please don't murder us.
Some of us don't have magic weapons, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recorded some NPC history
Episodes
for the podcast, and one of them was on Vral. I had one for Bai, I had one for Vral, I had one for Thovin. The Vral one, it just mentions how he started the Shadow Wolves, mentions Oxiara, and it mentions Vashti. Vashti being the one to make him a were-tiger in order to save his life.
And then, of course, Rumble Squad met up with Vashti.
Yay!
in the Regorum. Tony loves the intertextuality of the whole campaign.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff like that, by the way. Hopefully, if you are a new listener, bear with us. We have a lot of lore that's built up over the course of this past 3 years. Tony has released those episodes and things in the past, so there's lots to catch up on. And send in more questions if you have them on this sort of thing. We will try to answer them. But yeah, I guess we'll find out what happened on Tor's journey for sure down the road. One of the questions, I believe this is for Rumble Squad, was, can Anvil and Hammer the Mule be a thing? What are your thoughts, Rachel?
Yes, if Tony gives us another one.
So, for context.
For context, Anvil is our current mule that pulls the Holy Forge's cart, which is Auric and Luven's, work cart, basically. And there was a tiny petition at one point, maybe, to get a second one, but it did not work. So we'll see. Maybe we can get a second one.
When the business grows, be like, well, it's time for a second mule.
I mean, you guys haven't really had an opportunity to, acquire a second mule yet.
You've been lost in the woods.
So I guess the answer is maybe down the road, but so far, Anvil's flying solo, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, the business just needs to grow, right?
Yeah, well, maybe when we leave the Regorum, finally.
I know Auric is eager. Chris is eager.
Chris is eager.
Chris is like, I need money. I need to bargain with people for money.
Yeah.
He's very excited about the opportunity to, just make money.
Just make money. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really adventuring for the money. And for Yadumin.
But mostly the money.
So we had a question, I think was more of just a specific story point, which was, did Nissa mail Luven's letters? So when Nissa moved from Rumble Squad to Serviceable Plots, she had some letters from Luven to mail through the Nabresal network. I believe she did mail those when she went to Orenthal, but we might not have called it out specifically in the episode, right?
She did. She had a couple of days of downtime before she went on her own mission, and if we did not call it out specifically, I apologize for that. But we kind of yada yada, yes, she did send out all of those letters.
Luven will be getting responses once he leaves the Regorum to all of his letters. But in the meantime, he is still sending letters out every episode. So you'll get to see some insights into how Luven's mind works. They're pretty funny.
I enjoy them.
Yeah. All right. So another Rumble Squad question. Can Auric make a pew-pew out of metal? I believe this is a question about, can Auric make a gun?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe Tony has some firm answers on the subject. Tony?
No.
No, you cannot.
Here's the main reason why. Auric, we've put, cannot make something he doesn't know how it works. Which is why they needed to research for the expandable table. Because it's not a thing that he understands how to actually make it work. Hence, Luven's role in the company. To experiment, to test, to try things out. So that once they both have an understanding of how a mechanical thing can work, then he can make it using his channel divinity and all that. But if he doesn't actually have an understanding of how does this work, there is no way for him to actually make it.
It is also partly a class-based rules thing you're looking at, right? Like, there's nothing that a cleric would have that would give them the ability to make a gun. That belongs to a different class.
Artificer.
Trying to make sure to keep some of the stuff special to those particular classes, I think, is a piece of it.
So in the end, no, Auric will not be able to make a gun because Auric does not have the proficiency to understand how a gun works. Whereas Luven would.
Right, but he's really neat too. He's got plenty of stuff to make. I mean, the collapsible table is doing great, right? Like, that's a real crowd pleaser. I'm sure there'll be further inventions along the way.
It's the collapsible table, the expandable table.
Yep. You gotta have all of them.
All the tables. He's really just gonna open like a fantasy IKEA eventually. It's just gonna be like a home
one of those L
furnishings by
couches.
Auric. Yeah.
Yep. You gotta have all of these different things.
Yeah, they'll all be given dwarven names, as part of the branding from the Holy Forge Company. Yeah, once he gets the storefront, that's how Auric retires, I think. He doesn't actually retire, he just gives up adventuring and, opens a store, starts
Opens
a
an
franchise.
IKEA.
Yeah, exactly.
Serves dwarven meatballs.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly right. That's what I'm picturing.
I'm also picturing they probably have a hint of ale in them.
Oh, yeah. That's actually the sauce. It's literally just meatballs with ale poured over them.
Yeah. So the next question we have is a big one, which is, what happened to the gods? Sub-question, why are only some gods present? So...
First, quick clarification. I will answer something about the why are only some gods present. Adar is the only one specifically called out as being completely gone.
MIA. Yeah.
All the other gods still have some influence in the world. There are still clerics or paladins that have power to the other gods.
But not enough. Not the right amount.
Not a lot. Like it's waned, but it's still there. So that's my clarification on the second part of that.
Yeah, so the question of what happened to the gods is literally my character's core question. That is the whole purpose for her existing as a character. I pitched it to Tony as, all right, what if character wants to be cleric, but deities are gone?
And I went, cool, that was already a major part of the campaign. So yes.
So we cannot answer this question because we don't know, but we can talk conspiracy theories, or at least some ideas.
Since it's so important to you, what is your conspiracy theory about it, Bethany?
I've had many, and I pitched them to Tony, and he said he's not going to tell me, obviously.
Nope.
Currently, I don't have like one full complete theory. I'm working on different pieces. I'm also trying to make a note outside of this that I don't reference stuff that isn't released yet. But generally, I think Adar specifically is missing because Adar is doing something. So my original pitch was dead deity, by the way, which sounds really dark, but that was originally the pitch. But I know Tony would be like, but wait, what if more? So I think Adar is doing something to deal with some sort of major threat, which would probably make sense for a 3-arc campaign that is supposed to go to level 15.
Level 20.
Or level 20. So I think we're going to find out what other task Adar has been engaged upon as a planning god, god of knowledge, the god who wants to solve people's problems, make things run smoothly. Yeah, I think that's my current general theory, that there's some sort of massive, probably extra-planar threat that we don't fully understand yet, but we will once everything descends into chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's generally the direction, I think. So, what do you think, Adam?
I don't even know, because Neslim, for the most part, as far as I know, last time I was there, I mean, because I know Talori's on the material plane. So, I know she was there on the material plane to witness a death. So, she's still getting orders, at the very least. So, he's active in some capacity. As for what happened, oh boy, I think prophecy-wise, they're all super scared and, on edge. Not scared entirely. Super on edge because they're preparing for something that's trying to be released.
Yeah, some ancient evil thing. Some, like, force for chaos. But, like, the bad kind of chaos, not the kind of chaos you like.
Yes. Also, side note, because I just watched a whole bunch of overly sarcastic productions like mythology and, like, miscellaneous, like legend stuff. I'm now thinking back to the prophecy where it's like something that only the gods fear, and it's just bringing me back to the episode where it's talking about Eros, Aphrodite's like Cupid son thing, and how he's sometimes quoted as a force that sometimes that he is more powerful than the gods, and I'm like, Tony wouldn't make the literal end boss be a god of love.
It's Cupid. Akiva would be so down for that.
I'd be like, all right, let me at him. I could probably beat you in a love contest.
The real answer was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have been defeated.
I know this is a story that we've gotten a lot more information on since the episodes that are being released, so we're also trying to be careful about what we say, because we might know a bit more, which is why my theory is so general. I have more specifics, but look forward to those in upcoming episodes. There are reveals. So, here's a really important question, though. Why does Bai choose to be old and blind looking? Oh, that sounds bad. Why does Bai choose to be old and blind, and the Lady of Spirits young and hip? So I think this question of, if you have the magic to make yourself look however you want, why would you not be young and hip?
Who says she always looks old and blind?
Yeah, Tony, can we, say that Hot Bai exists? I know that's a bit of a spoiler for upcoming stuff. Hot Bai is a thing.
Hot Bai is so hot.
People who have this kind of power to make themselves look the way that they want, they are doing so to project a particular image. If they choose to change said image in any way, they are trying to... first impressions are important.
Yes.
By looking old and blind, wants to either put people off in a creepy manner, or just see a sweet old woman who just can't quite get to the counter, dear.
And I'll help you. I promise I'll help you with you, my friends.
Akiva totally falls for it, despite knowing she's like a powerful archfey or something.
As someone with 300 years of experience, let me give you some advice.
What's your wisdom?
-1.
Go on. I love when Akiva gives advice. It's my
great.
favorite. But yeah, the answer is they're doing it to manipulate us, I believe,
Yeah,
is what Tony's
100%.
saying. Yeah.
In both cases, where the Lady of Spirits is looking young and hip, and Bai just choosing to look old and blind, they're doing it to manipulate the people they're speaking to.
To quote the youth these days, they're playing chess while we're playing checkers.
Is that what the youth say?
I don't
talk to
know.
more youths to understand their ways. I think for the Lady of Spirits, it might also be like a branding thing. You know, you call yourself the Lady of Spirits. You've got this whole like, I'm a guardian thing. You got to have a vibe. So I feel like the whole like look is part of that vibe. And also the whole like, I'm going to have a conversation with someone while I control them with vines thing, right? Wouldn't you say, Rachel? That's kind of part of like the whole presentation.
Yeah, it's definitely about presentation.
Like, if she was like, hi, she just was like a regular person, like, hi, my name is Barb, I'm the guardian, you'd be like, what? Like, who are you? She's like, I am the Lady of Spirits. You're like, okay, cool, like, I respect you, like, you seem like you know what you're doing, you see magic. You know, it's also maybe a dress for the job you want sort of situation for the Lady of Spirits. Yeah. Wait. Dress to be Batman if you want.
Heck yeah.
So, I hope that answered the question. It was, we don't know exactly what their game is, but they're obviously trying to control us, and it works really well, because we totally fall for it, because we're just people, like, and they're, like, super powerful beings, right?
Pretty powerful.
Yep.
So, we've got another buy question, which I think might have been for Mike, but we would have to give Mike about an hour of recording just to try to walk through his basic conspiracy theories on, is Scriv related to Bai? Or, as we phrase it, what is Bai want from Scriv? What is her game? Why is she being nice to him? What's the deal? Like, she's like, talk to me about your childhood. He's like, okay. Like, I think on some level, Scriv might think Bai is his therapist.
Please, dear, sit on the couch.
Yeah, just
Tell me your woes.
yeah, just like, no, do not trust her. Like, she is super shady at best. So we don't know. We know that she has taken a strong interest in Scriv more than like anyone ever.
Yes.
So there's something about Scriv that Bai is like interested in, but we don't know what it is.
My hopes are that Bai is technically Scriv's mom's mom. So Bai is Scriv's grandmother. And then Scriv's mom actually had to change Scriv to hide him from Bai. That's what my hope is.
We've been calling this theory, I believe, Fey Princeling.
Fey Princeling. Dusky Fey Boy.
Dusky Fey Boy. Yes, since now Scriv is a hunter of the Dusk Fey, we've been calling him Mr. Dusky Fey Boy because we're nerds and we thought it was funny. So I think that's your number one theory. Others are maybe Scriv some sort of like celestial. Like on some level, we know he's just a human, but we've gotten lots of indications that he's not. Like when he held, Akiva's Kopesh, and Umber was just like, I hate him. And he's like, why?
Yes.
Why hate? It's like, okay.
For me, what I asked Tony about it one time, and it was like, oh yeah, remember when we were doing Orenthal, and I had posed the question to you, what if you cast 2 polymorph on somebody, and then you also cast Modify Memory? Would they remember who they are?
I talked about that.
And I'm like, wow, way to feed the fire.
Well, that literally was posed bye to Tor, and then the question was just left alone.
Yeah.
What would happen if you cast Modify Memory about the memory of them being true polymorphed? Would they now believe that they were always the form that they have?
Yeah. There's one theory Tony has said is not right, and that is, Mike was like, changeling? And Tony's like, no, there are no changelings in my world. And Mike's like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one theory he's been calling the Manchurian Candidate, with the idea that Scriv is basically like a sleeper agent who's going to assassinate someone, and Bai's like we him.
Checks out.
Yeah, like they're all silly theories, but at the same time,
are they?
They could be, right? We just don't know. So we don't know. We know there's some sort of affinity like Bai has for Scriv, but we don't know if it's like blood. I don't think it's blood related, honestly. I think it's some sort of magical connection related to Scriv's heritage, but we don't know what
Plus,
that
Mike
is.
comes up with the greatest conspiracy theories I've ever heard.
They're really...
His are usually, though, out of left field.
Oh, yeah.
How he thinks Umbra is just me from the future.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of his theories.
Yeah, basically, I would describe most of Mike's theories as very anime.
To be fair, I do get some inspiration from anime.
Yeah. Mike's other theory about what the whole thing going on is that it's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and all of the Brimmer Empire or the world is like a giant transmutation circle, etc. Someone's trying to convert everyone's souls to forge, like, you know, the ultimate weapon or artifact sort of thing. So we don't know that it's not true. So
Yes,
could be.
especially because Tony
That's
does
true.
like Full Metal Alchemist.
He does.
I do. It's true. I'll send you guys Hohenheim at some point.
Ugh, Hohenheim.
That's just what we need. More shady NPCs. All right. So our last question is kind of a fun one, which I'm going to rephrase as, do you ship it? The question is, are Talori and Akiva soulmates?
Maybe.
Adam's biggest cheese grin.
So a little background. When I created my backstory and my NPCs, I created Talori just as like kind of oh hey, it'd be nice if I had at least one person that didn't want me absolutely banished. I didn't think about it at the time that I was literally creating my soulmate, but then it kind of just fell into it, and I was like, okay, I'll go with it.
You're like, all right.
Literally, you just told me, hey, there's this person who actually cared about me a lot in the Shadowfell, and I cared about her a lot, and we were best friends, and we hung out together all the time, and she didn't want me banished. She was the only one out of all these people that didn't want me banished. Yeah.
So this is a little hint at the thought process of an Adam. I do these things without thinking about how these things work.
Yeah, so how's Captain Mars?
Yeah, Adam just falls into ships. Like, they just sort of happen for his characters. Where we're all like, we ship it, we ship it, we ship it. And you're like, I mean, I'm not against it if it happens. So, yeah, referencing Orenthal ships of Sildon and Captain Olga Marsk.
Captain Kethra Marsk.
Olga's the granddaughter.
Kethra Marsk, yeah.
Olga's the granddaughter.
Sorry, Captain Kethra Marsk. Darn it, there's so many names to keep track of. And we met Olga Marsk, you're like, is she tan?
How
Is she
tan is she?
tan?
I need to know.
Did you say half elf?
She's a half elf.
but really, did you say half elf?
Yeah. So, I think that would really, paid off. We all invested in that, and it was nice.
There were many questions that wanted to be answered, but in character, none of your characters cared.
No, it's
There's
true.
no reason for your characters to
I
know this.
know.
Adam
However, out of
cared.
character, Adam was dying.
So I made Akiva care a little bit.
I think, like, whenever we see, like, an NPC and a PC who just have, like, a solid relationship built on, like, affection and mutual respect, we're like, yes, ship it. This seems like a healthy relationship. We want
Yes.
this to happen.
Do it.
Like, we fully support, like, good relationships for our characters.
100%. Like, I was talking to Melissa the other day. This is like a weird side note. I was like, I don't know why, but for me, if I ever want to play a bard, and you know how there's always the bard stereotype of they will sleep with anything that moves, I really want my bard to just start the campaign in a stable relationship.
Like, sorry, I can't. I got a girlfriend waiting for me.
You're gonna be a real monogamous bard.
Yeah.
Like, I have a sweetheart. I'm thank you for your interest.
I learned how to be a bard so that I could, perform for her.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a tale of love and affection.
Oh, it's really sweet, actually.
Yeah.
So that tends to be our mindset. So we're like, this seems like this is good. This makes sense. We want our characters to make good choices in their relationships. No, like, toxic
Do you mean
nonsense.
like Zolinda?
Wait, do we have a name?
Zolinda.
Have we ever said that?
Oh, you hadn't known that?
No, it's Zelinda.
No.
Someone was calling you Zolinda.
Who was calling Zolinda?
I don't know, someone on the Discord or something.
Oh my gosh. So that would be the Zolas Belinda
Zolas
ship.
Belinda.
Which currently is, Zolas is like, gifts? And Belinda's like, okay, thank you. I like these. I will take them. Thank
Don't
you.
worry, I got your back, Solus. I will make her have emotions, and then she will love you.
You make it think like Zolas is making these big, overt, like, displays of affection.
Does it matter?
Yeah, and then
It will be shipped.
Yeah, we know what happened with Scriv's ship. Womp womp.
I want him to redeem her, but she's so not into it.
Yeah, in case you guys don't remember, Scriv was like, I have my childhood friend Orlais. We used to go into ruins together.
I love art. I've always loved art.
Oh my gosh. She's like, I'm an artist. He's like, I love your art. Your art is the best art of all the art. My character, literally, you've never talked about art, like, ever.
He's like, I've always loved art.
And then
It's okay. She had a very low insight, so when you said that, she was just like, oh man, it must have been so difficult to not talk about art for so long.
well, here's the thing. None of it mattered anyways because she was a filthy traitor who backstabbed him in Akiva.
Don't know what you're
Just
talking
saying.
about.
There's no hope for that ever working out.
Yeah.
Unless it's a tale of redemption.
No. She's toxic. We don't want we don't want her back. Oh man. I guess I could say we don't have her back yet. she's still.
Oh, you'd have to go,
She's still-
like literally, Umbra said you have to come get her.
Yeah, she's just like trapped in another dimension. As a player, I'm like, wow, that's harsh. But as a character, Belinda's like, seems fair. She stabbed 2 of my friends.
She stabbed 2 of my friends. Just the 2.
She's stabbed and poisoned.
And to be clear, she betrayed her country, the greatest crime of all.
Yes. That is more important than the stabbing of the friends.
I guess I can mention this now. There were 2 other poison attempts.
Yep. It was the touching where we had to randomly roll.
Okay, so I love this because both you and Mike thought this was like if you guys get spotted by guards.
Yeah.
Because you were so sneaky.
Because you guys were sneaking out. You were going to see like this defaced mural, or this mural that was defacing the Temple of Vumera, and I just had you roll. And the first one was a contact poison by her touching them. So the paint on her hands was not all paint. The second one was actually like coating her lips. So kissing Scriv on the cheek was another poison.
Well, and my whole thing during that was because we had just gotten back from burning a town to the ground.
Running away while it was burned to the ground.
Running away while burning a town to the ground. And we had just had a run-in with the Shadow Wolves. And we had been carrying something very important. So I was like, oh man, there are so many other things I'm worrying about right now. This is the least of my concerns. I just don't want us to get arrested. And then we'll be like, so what happened, children?
To be fair, we did have a regular thing of one rule: don't get arrested. And how hard was
Which
that?
did almost happen.
They basically
In
got it.
Okay, but to be fair, we had one rule in ours, which was don't say Vashti's name.
Oh yeah, the one rule always gets broken at some
Right,
point.
exactly. That's the whole point of one rule. Once you have one rule, you're like, and now it shall be broken.
Yeah.
But see, that's the problem. Belinda always makes rules, and they must be broken.
It's true. Yeah, and they do.
It's
get
almost
broken.
like her character's lawful.
What?
Guys, I'm just think structure and order is important.
Chaos.
Yeah.
No, okay, so I don't remember if I told you or not, Adam, what those poisons did. But the first one was going to be the nicest because you were all going to suddenly just wake up because it was poison that knocked you unconscious.
Ooh.
And then your stuff would be missing. And Orlais would also be waking up having her stuff missing.
Oh.
No, it was a
Conveniently.
robbery. Oh,
That would have been really bad because that would have also meant my Kopesh would have been gone, my everything. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, no, it's a bad, like, okay, so the DCs also increased with each one she used because they're more expensive, but they're also more revealing each one. Like the contact one was just hand to hand. The kiss on the cheek would have paralyzed Scriv. She was going to try and play that off as like, hey, are you okay? What's wrong? And as she like tried to slip the amulet from him. Yeah, the most revealing one was the one that literally had to
Stab. Ah.
right.
And that one was also bad because it made you incapacitated, but not unconscious.
And we all know how that turned out.
You guys just kept rolling so well.
Nat 20.
Yeah, it was a good. I would also like to call out, like, Mike had been asking Tony for, like, a really dramatic moment, like a betrayal or a fight on a rooftop in a rainstorm, like,
So you asked for this.
oh, he totally asked.
Oh, he did. He was actually really excited
Yeah.
about it.
Afterwards, he was like, yes! And Adam was like, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, it's what I wanted. Torture script.
The part that I did not foresee, because it was a 5% chance of occurring, Was Akiva telling Umbra to take control of
Hello. I make choices and then I double down on those choices.
Yes,
And
you
then
do.
I had to decide, what does that mean? Because he nat 20'd it. And I think I left it in, but I just went, oh no.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, that session was the equivalent of the Vashti's Name episode for Rumble Squad. I'm just like, oh, the drama.
Yeah.
We live with the consequences of our choices.
Yep.
Oh, man. Very exciting.
There might still be consequences to those choices.
Oh, yeah,
Never.
What?
Yeah. So that is all of the questions that we had for this current mailbag. Please send us questions. We've been trying to do these every few months, just to try to address anything you want to know, and you get to see inside our weird minds and how we're processing what's happening in the story.
Hello.
So if you have any for the next one, feel free to send them to dm@dndraw.com or tweet them to us at rulesaswritten. And if it's something quick, we're always happy to just answer stuff. We answer questions all the time in our Discord, especially if it's about an episode that's just released. Though often it's just, man, Bai is so cool. Don't we love Bai? Isn't she great?
Isn't she great?
Isn't she fun? She's so sinister.
We have several fans of Bai.
Oh, yeah. Because she's so extra. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening, and we look forward to talking to you next time.
And now on to the recaps. First, here's what happened during episodes 27 through 30 of Rumble Squad. Previously, Nissa began her job investigating the cult that was hiding out near the town of Mandeville. After scouting the area out, her friend Erin decided to infiltrate the cult and see what she could find out. When Erin failed to report back to Nissa the following day, Nissa was informed by her contact in town that another group was coming in, and perhaps they could aid each other. Meanwhile, Rumble Squad concluded their investigation of the ruins of Neverhelm and learned that the crystal could not be recharged. They also came to the chilling realization that the city was once powered by the very souls of its inhabitants. With that knowledge, they felt they could not leave the city fast enough, though they eventually parted ways with their newfound friends, the Pummel Patrol, before following Demeen back towards the surface. Rumble Squad left the ruins of Neverhelm and returned to the surface so that they could then speak to the Lady of Spirits. After a game of two truths and a lie, the party learned a little about the guardian of these northern lands, and were granted permission to rest here for the evening. In the morning, the Shadar-kai Talori escorted the party off of the lands of the Lady of Spirits, and stopped at the edge of the lands of the Ancestral Heart. They began their journey west from here, and narrowly avoided an orc hunting party as they began to traverse this dangerous realm. Rumble Squad traversed the lands of the Ancestral Heart. After sleeping in a small cave and making some bunny barding, the group pressed on towards the lands of the Champion, while avoiding the many predators they heard along the way. After finding a small town in the middle of the Rigorum, Elaine tried to make a distraction, using the magical sheep summoning wool, while the rest of the party circled the town to avoid the Nightmare Skull clan. In the process of creating the distraction, however, Elaine, having been shaped into a cat, was captured by an orc Rumble Squad had previously spared, Glasha. Glasha then began to take a currently cat-looking Elaine deeper into town, while Oric, Luven, and Demeen began planning what to do next to help out their friend. The party had the chance to speak with the Ancestral Hearts and prove their worth to this dual guardian by showing their combat prowess. After defeating their opponents, Rumble Squad was invited to a feast with the Nightmare Skull clan and were given a place to rest while in town. The group meditated, prayed, and in general, mentally prepared themselves for the coming challenge that was the land of the Champion when they were summoned to join the festivities. And now, here's what happened between episodes 31 through 40 of Serviceable Plots. Previously, the party arrived in the town of Mandeville and quickly learned of the job they were tasked to complete. They learned they had to acquire a tuning fork that had been imbued with the essence of the Abyss, so Darwin could accomplish his goals. They also met their new ally, Nissa, who had learned the cult of Tenebris, had a hideout situated near the town, as well as learned of potential ways to get into the hideout. After sharing information, where Akiva revealed he was a Shadar-kai, and Belinda showed off her telepathy, Nissa shared that she was in fact working for the Shadow Wolves, and that not only had she seen a sword just like Akiva's before, but she had also met a friend of his named Talori. With these thoughts on their minds, and a plan in the works, the party rested before tackling their objectives. Last time, the party met with Wolfhunter, the Goliath acquisitions expert of the cult of Tenebris, near Mandeville. After convincing her that they could be of use to the cult, they gained entrance to the base. Splitting up, Akiva and Belinda began to double down, speaking to a deathlock about becoming sacrifices in service to Tenebris. Meanwhile, Scriv created a distraction in the library as Nissa snuck into a hidden study and retrieved several stolen tomes, a few letters, and some interesting potions, before slipping back to rejoin Scriv. The party defeated Wolfhunter and freed Aaron from her imprisonment, as Nissa and Scriv picked the pockets of the cult's deathlocks. Once Nissa had grabbed the tuning fork, the objectives were complete, having previously acquired the books for the Staff Federation, and the information on the mole and the Shadow Wolves that Nissa was looking for. With the items in hand, the party quickly rejoined, and ran from the cultists who realized what was happening. As Akiva used a potion of fire breathing to light up the vines and bushes around the entrance of the cave, the party began their run back towards Mandeville, and away from the pursuing cultists. The party fled from the cult of Tenebris, and even defeated their mage, the Coffin, though Akiva lost his familiar Lazarus in the process, and gained the ability to summon specters from Umbra, to the Shadarkai's complete horror. Scriv, meanwhile, ran ahead and began shouting of the coming attack, as the party was targeted by a hidden cult member in town, announcing that Akiva was a death elf. The party avoided the potential confrontations, and with Belinda's aid, grabbed horses and ran from Mandeville, as the town began to be engulfed in flames behind them. As they pressed on, they eventually came to a place of rest, as Aaron and Nissa shared what they found while in the cult's lair. As the party continued to debrief, Scriv received a message from one of the deathlocks, taunting him, to which Scriv replied, "Good luck." The party discussed the implications that having the cult of Tenebris so close to Orenthal meant to the safety of the Vremer Empire. After talking about what they had learned, what they had found, and what they planned to do next, the party continued this long night, riding to Orenthal, and found themselves surrounded and attacked in the low hills. After scaring off their assailants and killing those who didn't run, Nissa learned that the group who attacked them were Shadow Wolves, confirming her fears that they had been infiltrated. After an intense discussion on the necessity of killing, the party continued on to meet up with their contact, Ganithar. The party met with Darvin, the royal cleric of Orenthal, and explained how dire the undead situation was. With this, Darvin requested the party join him in the Abyss, and be a second team there meant to collect the information in Tenebris' library in 10 days' time. Afterwards, the party went to Belinda's apartment to sleep after a very long day. During the night, however, Orlais, Scriv's childhood friend, came to see him, and wanted to show him a mural that she had made. Akiva decided to accompany Scriv and allowed Belinda and Nissa to sleep as they followed Orlais. After seeing a mural of Scriv defending acolytes of Umera, Orlais stabbed Scriv and Akiva, paralyzing them with poison and stealing the amulet of Veripol. Before she could get very far, Akiva called out to Umbra to take control of him to stop this from happening. Umbra obliged, and Scriv saw Akiva's patron block out the night sky before hearing a terrifying scream. When Akiva came to, Orlais was nowhere to be found, and Umbra commented that he would hold on to the amulet for now. Akiva and Scriv returned to Belinda's apartment to explain what had happened with Umbra and Orlais. The pair took time to decompress, while Belinda and Nissa went to meet with her contact in the Shadow Wolves, only to be surprised that Lyle wasn't there, and a man named Sadan, a traitor according to the letter in Nissa's pocket, was searching for him. After setting up a future meeting with some potential members of the Whispered Ones, Belinda and Nissa returned home with a spell scroll for Akiva to contact his friend. As Akiva emotionally prepared himself for this, he resummoned his familiar Lazarus and enjoyed his company after a grueling 24 hours. As Akiva and Nissa prepared a disguise for Akiva to wander Orenthal in, Scriv and Belinda went to see Salvador to turn in the schematics and prototypes they acquired in exchange for notes on the Veripol artifact and a pair of goggles of night. While they bartered, Nissa and Akiva tried a long shot and searched for the old house Biagosto was rumored to reside in, and sure enough, found it. After speaking with Bai, she offered Nissa a deal, information in exchange for a meeting with Scriv, since she had a gift to give him. As the pair pondered what to do, Bai offered to make them a meal and continue the conversation. Akiva's faith and understanding of his god Neslim was shaking during a conversation with Bai, as the old woman pointed Nissa in a direction to begin searching for her missing friend. Belinda and Scriv, meanwhile, learned that the refugees from Mandeville were being treated in the city, and rumors of a Shadar Kai leading the assault sounded like blame was being placed on Akiva. After helping to spread some false information, healing a few of the refugees, and getting a new haircut for Scriv, the pair met with Belinda's mom, where they agreed to work directly for her as members of the military. When they returned, the team debriefed, and Scriv was not at all happy that he was bargained by his friends, though he decided he would meet with Bai now, if Akiva would speak directly with Umbra. Scriv and Nissa met up with Bai, who spoke of the changeability of the elves before bequeathing Scriv some new enchantments for his sword. Belinda and Akiva, meanwhile, spoke with Umbra, who agreed to release the amulet back to them and admitted he needed Akiva to get the Blade of Tenebris so he could gain his lost memories. Belinda agreed to allow Akiva to acquire the sword in this exchange. With the amulet returned, the party decided to follow up a lead and head to the monastery of Kakos, where Scriv met with his old friend Strides and Moments, who drew his blade and challenged Scriv to a fight.